We're going to start with the ball. You're not going to see my head for much of this first part because what we're going to do is rolling right here next to the wall. I'm going to start with the feet like we always do. And we're going to spend about 2 minutes on each foot. So those of you that have taken my class before, you know what your body needs, right? Explore that foot, see what it needs today. For those of you new, we're going to explore the space between the heel. So if this is my foot, the heel, and the ball, right? In the middle on our hand, that's a palm. So think of exploring the palm of your foot, and then think of 3 zones. If my thumb was my big toe, think of that right here on this inner edge, that arch space of your foot, and then way out here on that pinky side, that edge of the foot, and then right in the middle. So try to explore all 3 zones here, including the spaces way back here by the heel and way up front by the ball of your foot. Right? So what we're going to do for each foot is roll it for a minute and then do what I call polka dot. Okay? In the polka dot, the goal is to find a tight spot and you're just going to rock onto the ball, wiggle the toes a little bit, rock off, move the ball to a new spot, rock on, wiggle the toes, rock off. Okay, so the goal here with the polka dotting is to target any areas that you found during your rolling that were just a little bit tight. If you didn't have any, just try to find as many different spots in the bottom of your foot as you can. You're going to rock on, rock off, and rock on, and rock off. And don't forget to wiggle those toes. And I'm just really wiggling. I'm actually trying to really stretch them out. Stretch them long and stretch them apart from each other. All right, let's just do a few more on this foot. And we'll switch. All right, so second foot, let's start like we did with the roll, right? All 3 zones, inner, middle, outer edge, right? Ball to heel, all in that space. Now, how deep you push, that is where it's totally up to you, right? This is called scraping. It sounds a little violent, but imagine if you were scraping off wallpaper off a wall, okay? If you scrape lightly, you're gonna get a little bit of that wallpaper off. Go a little deeper, you'll get a little bit more. If you've got 3 layers of wallpaper and you really wanna dig in there, you can do that. You gotta push a little harder, right? So stay within the pressure range that suits you. You know your body better than anybody else, right? All right, so now let's rock on that foot, rock off, rock on, wiggle, rock off, rock on, move the toes as much as you can, rock off, keep finding the spaces. Way out on the outside, way on the inside, and anywhere in between. Go ahead, just about 30 more seconds on this foot. Really wiggle. Get those toes moving, let them spread out. Get them away from each other. Good, shake out that side. Now we're gonna go back to that first foot just for a little bit here. And where I want you to put the ball is right in the ball. So if this is my foot, my ball is gonna go right in the center. And what I wanna do first is imagine I'm gonna pick up that ball. I'm gonna crunch my toes around it, crunch my foot around it. Now I'm gonna throw the ball away. I'm gonna pick up my toes, get them apart from each other, drop that ball, and then pick it up. And then throw it away. Good. And just keep up with this pattern of curling the toes and extending them along as you're pressing into the ball. So imagine you're actually picking that ball up. And then imagine you're throwing it away, get it away, and pick it up. And throw it away. And let's do 2 more. Pick it up. Throw it away. And last one, pick it up. And throw it away. Good, switch sides, same thing. Nice, start the ball right in the center. Round your foot around it. Curl it up, pick up that ball, and throw it away. So one of the things we're doing, as we pick up that ball, right, we're pulling that arch up. And as we throw the ball away, we're pressing that arch down, right? So we're getting activity through that arch space. Go ahead, pick it up, throw it away, pick it up, throw it away, and do a few more reps here. And one more. Good. Now shake out both feet. And I just want you to kind of rock side to side. And how do those feet feel, right? The more active our feet are, the more active the rest of our legs are, including quads, glutes, calves, right? So rock side to side. And then just try a little one leg stance. How does that balance feel? Okay, we didn't do a test before, but I think you can probably feel how if your foot is more active, how much more active the other muscles in your leg are as well. So again, all we did was roll the feet. So can you imagine, we've done it for 5 minutes. So can you imagine just rolling the feet for 5 minutes a day? What a difference it will make. So there's my soapbox. Roll your feet every day. Now we're gonna move up the chain a little bit, because today we're gonna do some hips and a little bit through the upper body as well. So right now we're gonna go into that low glute space. So I'm gonna put it right here. Let's use part of my behind, right? And what I'm gonna do is go from my tailbone, so this is my tailbone and this is my hip. I'm gonna go on a little bit of a horizontal, maybe a little diagonal in and out. Okay, so this is my hip socket and this is my tailbone. I'm gonna go in between those two. Never rolling on the bones themselves, we want to roll the soft tissue around the joints, right? So down here low, this is that glute max, that big glute muscle, biggest muscle in the body, but unfortunately, a lot of times it doesn't do all the work that it can, and then our hips and knees and back end up paying the price a little bit. Okay, so we're just going to alternate between the two sides. And I'm not going to tell you how long to stay on each side, because that is completely your call. Spend a little time on both, but please spend extra time in any areas that are tight. Okay? So once you find a tight spot, you're going to press it, hold it, and maybe just do a little shimmy shake side to side. Right? What you also can do, and we did this with our feet, is a pin and stretch. So I've got a tight spot right here. I'm going to pin it, and then I'm going to stretch away from it. So I'm going to take my arm up and over, still pressing the ball into the wall, but I'm reaching up and over out of that space, allowing the muscles around that tight spot to stretch. Okay? Remember my bread dough analogy? If you have bread dough with a knot in it, you want to roll out that knot a little bit so you can get more stretch out of it. If you don't roll out the knot, it's not going to stretch very much, right? So what our rolling is rolling out that knot so we can get more elasticity from the muscles. Good. Okay. So from the low glute, I want you to find the bony landmark, the top of your pelvis, and it's higher than you think. It's way up here, and stick that ball right underneath it. We're moving up to the high glute space. So this is our glute med. Glute mid, or glute min is in there as well. It's a little hard to access. It's kind of underneath. But in that glute med, glute min space. And again, we're going from tailbone out to the hip. Okay? Not rolling on the back. Just finding that space in between. So if this was my bridge of my pelvis, I'm taking that ball right underneath it. All right, and switch it to the other side. Like I said, please spend time on both sides, but always spend more time on any area that needs it. All right, so we're just going a little horizontal pattern here, in and out. And make sure you stay underneath that pelvis, and you can drop it down a little bit, right? Don't have to keep it right underneath the rim of the pelvis. You can drop it down a half an inch or so. Down in this space as well. That's still that glute med space. Good. So next up, and I'm going to show you here, you're going to take the ball more right on the side. So if you feel around again for bony landmarks, here's my ball and socket joint, right? Here's the top of my pelvis, so you can see how much space there is in between. All right, so that's what I'm going to find, that space in there. I'm going to explore, roll around, and then if I have a tight spot, again, I can do that pin, press, and stretch. Reach up and extend over. Take some big inhales and exhales. Good, and then just switch whenever you're ready. All right, so we're pretty much going straight on to the side here. We did this back side. Now we're going to focus on that space right there on the side. Going a little up, down, side to side, finding any tight spots, pressing, holding, reaching up and over for the pin and stretch. Good. Now I'm going to take you a little bit to the front of the body, and this is going to be hard, a little hard for you to see. But imagine where you would kind of stick your hands in your front pocket a little bit down. So right here in the beginning, that's your TFL that leads into your hip flexor. So we're just going to explore that space a little bit. And on the wall, you just kind of have to lean into it, moving that ball side to side. So it almost looks like you're kissing the wall here, rolling right here in this space. My chest is up against the wall. I've got that ball rolling right through here. Again, find a tight spot, press, hold, breathe. Very important is the breath here. Especially if you find a tight adhesion, you want to imagine that. Exhale, sending that tightness away, sending it out of the body. Good. So just go back and forth between the two sides. We'll do about 30 more seconds here. And then we're going to stretch this hip space, right? This hip and glute space on the wall here. Good. Okay. So you can put your ball down for just a sec. All right. Now, next to your wall, your leg that is away from the wall, that's going to come behind. Right? And I want you to kind of tuck your legs together and squeeze those inner thighs together nice and tight. Then your outside arm, you're going to take it up and then take it over the top of your head and press into the wall. You can't see me here, but I'm pressing into the wall, and now I'm taking my hip and pressing it away. Back foot stays on the floor. That leg I'm keeping pretty straight and then keeping those inner thighs squeezed together. So getting a nice stretch here, and I can even kind of angle my hip forward. So now I'm getting a little bit of that space that we just rolled, that TFL space, outer hip space, and continue with the breath. Keep those inner thighs squeezed together. Keep that back foot on the floor. Keep that leg straight. Big inhales and exhales. Inhales and exhales. Inhales and exhales. Good. Come back up. Switch. So it's my leg away from the wall that goes behind. Squeezing those legs together. Back foot stays on the floor. Outside arm reaches up. Goes over the head. Pushes into the wall. Hip goes out. Getting the stretch. Again, inner thighs squeezed. Make it an active stretch here. Good. And come back up. Shake out those legs a little bit. And a new one, because we have the wall. If you're not comfortable with this, you can do the same thing pretty much with your foot on the floor. But you can put your foot up on the wall. And it doesn't have to be as high as your hip. It can be a little bit lower. Okay? You can even, if you have a stool or a low chair, you can use that as well. But what we're going to focus on here is that hamstring area. And we're going to, again, make it an active stretch. So my foot's going to go into the wall. And my hip is going to go back. So as my foot goes away and my hip goes back, see what happens to my hamstring, right? I'm going to bend the knee, push my foot in the wall, pull my hip back, and then release. Inhale, exhale. Really tighten this quad to get a full stretch in the hamstring. Inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale. So I'm not just driving my knee down to the floor, I'm thinking foot into the wall, hip back. Let's do 5 more. Inhale forward. Exhale, pull that hip back, push the foot forward. Inhale. Exhale, tighten that quad. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Good. Getting especially that outer hamstring lengthening. Okay? Same thing on the other side. Foot up on the wall, chair, stool, whatever works for you. We're going to bend the knee, but then to decrease the bend of the knee, and I'm not saying your knee has to go straight, but to take that little bit of that bend away, you're going to push the heel forward. You're going to pull the hip back. Good. And then inhale, knee bends. Exhale, push away, pull back. Inhale, push away, pull back. Inhale, push away, pull back. Let's do 4 more. Inhale, push away, pull back. Inhale, push away, pull back. Tightening this quad. Inhale, push away, pull back. And inhale, push away, pull back. And can you do the same thing on the floor? Absolutely. You can lay on your back with your towel or your yoga strap and do the same motion. This allows you to get a little bit more because you have that pressure of the wall. So try a little bit on your own and see what works for you. Okay, grabbing your ball again. So we did the ball right underneath the pelvis. Now I want you to imagine the space right above the pelvis. So now we're going to find the top edge and then feel along your spine, right vertical, right next to your spine are those big ropey muscles, right? Your spinal extensors. So we're going to nuzzle that ball right above the pelvis and right next to the spine to find those spinal extensors. So now I'm just going to go a little bit down, up, and I'm staying between my rib cage and the top of my head, right? Just kind of doing a little vertical motion, right, down and up. So targeting those spinal extensors deep under there is a muscle called your QL as well, and that's a very temperamental muscle, okay? So it can, if you're feeling a little bit of a super tightness here, a little jumpy, that might be your QL, it's real tight. Now you can go a little bit of a horizontal pattern, just kind of tracing along the ridge of your pelvis, right? Just like we traced along the bottom of the ridge of the pelvis. Now we're going to sit right on top and go from hip to the spinal extensors, right? And then you can think of making a little L pattern, right? Down, up, out, in, down, up, out, in, down, up, out, in. Good. Side to side. Okay, same thing on the other side. So, got my bridge of my pelvis. We're going to put the ball above it, nuzzle it right next to those big ropey muscles. Those are pretty easy to find. We want to stay on the muscles. Again, not going onto the bone, onto those vertebrae. All right, so you can go down, up, side to side, down, up, side to side. Good. And spending time in the spaces that you need, of course. 30 more seconds. Good. All right, so we're going to work our way up the back. Find our bony landmarks again. This time it is your shoulder blade. So right here, I can feel the bottom of my shoulder blade, right? And it's by no way a 90-degree angle, but I'm going to think about taking my ball and tracing right around that outer edge of my shoulder blade, right? So I can go into that vertical spine, a little bit on the bottom, that horizontal line. Okay, so I'm nuzzling the ball between my shoulder blade and my spine. Okay, so it's not on either one, it's nestled in that space in between. Okay. So focusing on the lat muscles here. The lats are those big kind of winging muscles that go from the shoulders and attach all the way down the rib cage. Very wide muscle, lots of actions that it does. Okay. So we're targeting those lat muscles here. Lat muscles have a lot to do with what is going on through our core, right? Those lat muscles are kind of lazy on the job and affect the entire core. And we're going to get those lat muscles a little active here because with all our at-home workouts, it's tough to hit those rowing type of motions that are so important to keep these back muscles active. Okay. So we're just kind of exploring around that shoulder blade. Good. And again, if you have a tight spot, I'll show you on this side, right? So let's have a tight spot right here. Press and hold. I can add movement, so I can certainly take that arm up. So now it's pinned and I'm stretching out of that space. Right? Inhale and exhale. If that's too much, you can just add a little bit of movement. Maybe it's just an in and out. Right? So find those spots. Usually you're always good for a couple little Rice Krispies here in this space. See if you can find a pin and stretch. Just like we found in the outside of the hip. Good. All right, now we're just going to finish with that deltoid. So that muscle's right on the outside of the shoulder. I'm going to put the ball right there between the shoulder and the wall. And I'm just going to do some little, right, shoulder rolls, letting that ball explore that space in there. If you have a tight spot, press hold, add movement. Maybe it's just a simple flexion and an extension of the elbow. And don't forget to explore kind of the forward spot area and the back area of that deltoid. Right? Switching whenever you're ready. Good. All right, and last one we're going to target right here, a little bit of that trapezius muscle. So finding your bony landmark again right here. It's the back of your collarbone, and right on top of it is some muscle tissue. You can feel it. Those are your traps. So you're going to stick the ball right on top of the collarbone and kind of pin the trap muscle between the ball and the wall as you explore from your shoulder in towards your neck. Right? So trap muscles end up doing or holding up the head, especially if our lats are not active. Right? If our lats aren't active and our shoulders tend to roll forward, our head comes forward, and that puts all that work onto the traps to hold our head up. Right? So tight spot in here, move a joint above or below, right? You can press and hold and add a little head movement. Make sure it's slow and controlled. So you're just going to bring your ear to that opposite shoulder as you breathe. Good, and just switch to the other side. And finding that shell, and just let that ball roll from the shoulder into the neck. And now, and you can add a little head movement. Just be real gentle here. Good. Okay. So next up, have you grab your yoga strap, your towel, your sweatshirt, whatever you have is fine. Kitchen towel will work. You just need something that you can hold in your hands and build a little tension with. Okay, so we talked about those back and shoulder muscles, right? We loosen them up a little bit. Now we're going to get a little bit more mobility in there. So first thing we're going to do, you're going to grab your towel or your strap with your palms facing forward, thumbs are pointing out away from each other. I want you to give yourself a big shoulder roll. We don't want to be here, right? Shoulder roll and park those shoulders back. You can go one foot in front of the other. And what you're going to do is just pull that towel, strap, whatever it has, till you have tension on it. And then you're going to bring it back against your hips. You're going to tuck your tailbone and press your hips forward. And you're going to squeeze your shoulder blades together and lift your chest. And hold here. Big inhales and exhales. So we're thinking about squeezing the shoulder blades together, lifting the head up high. So I'm not just arching in the back. I'm squeezing the shoulder blades back and down, but I'm lifting my head as if somebody's picking me up by the ears, lengthening the spine. Good. Release that. Keep the feet the same. Now we're going to grab behind. So I'm going to turn so you can see. Now I'm going to grab reverse. So my thumbs are facing in towards each other and the same leg back. I'm going to tuck my tailbone. I'm going to pull the band apart, squeeze my shoulder blades together, reach for the floor and lift my chest. And hold here for 20 seconds. So key to this is a shoulder blade squeeze, the hands reaching for the floor. Good. Release that and switch. So other foot in the front. I'm going to start with palms forward, thumbs out, pulled apart. Bring it back against the hip, tuck that tailbone, and again, we're going to squeeze the shoulder blades together and lift the chest up. Something about getting long through my spine, not just arching. Get tall. And release. Let's go behind. Okay, thumbs toward each other. Pull it apart. Reach down. Squeeze the shoulder blades. Lift them up. So just my hands are just a little bit away from my tailbone here. Holding. Keep with the breath. And release. Good. So again, we loosened up those back muscles. Now we've activated them a little bit. And let's continue with 1 or 2 more. So now I'm going to go palms down. Now I want you to put more band between your hands. I'm going to pull it apart. Okay, so all I'm doing is bringing my hands apart. The band is going to come closer to my body, but I want to think about my shoulder blades on my back, going back and down. And that's what's driving my hands out, not the reverse, right? Squeeze my shoulder blades back and down. Get my hands to go out. Same time, I'm lifting my chest up high. Good. Now, roll the shoulders. Bring the elbows to 90 degrees. This is palms up here. And I want you to keep those shoulders apart. And all we're going to do is little pulses out. Okay? So real important that the shoulders aren't rolled forward here. Little pulses out. These are working the little muscles of the rotator cuff. In and out. And again, it doesn't matter if you have a band or a towel. We're focusing more just on that movement pattern, right? External rotation of the shoulder. Good. And our last one, you're going to flip your hands over again, put more towel or band between your hands. And now you're going to get tension on it, just like we did. And with tension, you're going to bring it up, overhead, and maybe even behind. Now, this range of motion is completely up to you, right? So it might be that you're just pulling it apart, bringing it up overhead, and that's all that's going to work for you, right? Keep tension, whatever you do. So you don't want that towel to go slack. Hold apart, reach it up. Maybe you take it over, maybe you don't. Depends on where your shoulder mobility is. But keep tension as you bring it up. Keep tension as you bring it over. If you do, keep tension all the way back to the front. Okay. Mobility of the shoulders. We don't want those shoulders to get locked up here. Inhale up, or exhale back. And just do a few more here, whatever feels good. Good. Okay. So now we're going to come back to the floor. I'm going to turn my camera here so you can see. And we're going to finish up with our stretches. So go ahead and bring your towel or strap with you. We're going to come down to the floor. And we're going to start here in child's pose. And you can have knees together. You can have knees apart. Doesn't matter. What I want you to do is take hips to heels, okay? And think about your hip being your anchor here. Because what we're going to focus on is the stretch here through the back and shoulders, right? So coming down into child's pose, I want you to walk your hands to the front of the mat. Now, and take your right hand and take that thumb up to the ceiling and reach it forward. So again, your hip is your anchor. Reach your hip back for the heel and take your right hand and reach it forward, thumb up. Now, still with that right hand, see if you can get that palm to reach up to the ceiling. Spread those fingers, reach forward. 3 breaths. Good. Now you're going to bring that hand in and extend the other one. So I'm going to start with thumb up to the ceiling. Think about hip as the anchor, so hip goes back, fingers go forward. Now I'm going to turn my palm and spread my fingers, lift them up. Get that nice stretch all the way through the back of the shoulder and the side of the back. Good. Now let's send both arms out at the same time. Big inhale. Exhale. Rotate those palms up. Head can come straight to the floor. I'm going to keep mine up so you can hear me, but go ahead and put your forehead on the mat there. Big inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. And inhale, exhale. Good. Now, we're going to finish with our breath, and today we're going to finish with breath in child's pose, but if that doesn't feel good to you, go ahead and do the breath work that we've done previously, legs up the wall, knees bent, feet flat, whatever works for you. We're going to come down into child's pose. Knees together so that your belly is pressing up against your thighs. You can have your hands over your head, or you can just let them relax next to your sides. And we're going to focus on the breath. I encourage you to keep your head down. I'm going to keep mine up so you can hear me. But remember, with our breath, we always start that breath in the belly. With that inhale, we let that belly expand. And then we take that breath into the diaphragm, letting that expand. Continue with the breath into the ribs and lungs, filling up completely. And then for the exhale, starting with the ribs and lungs, sending it through the diaphragm, finishing in the belly, pulling that belly button in and up, pulling it away from the thighs, pulling their pelvic floor up toward your center. That's your breath. So I encourage you to do 3 to 4 more breaths here in that pattern, or stay longer if you need. You're here in child's pose. You can feel how when you expand through the belly can't go any further because of your thighs, that breath can continue expanding into that low back. So feel that. And then feel that expansion into the rib cage. Take that breath into your lungs, big breaths. And then a big exhale. Emptying everything completely. And again, I encourage you to continue with your breath. Take this time for yourself. You're already here. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay cool, and I'll be back with this class on Monday.